Fan Network. Talk Sport. Powered by fans.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to episode 381 of the Sheffield Wednesday Week podcast. Can you believe it, everyone, eh? Good evening, welcome. And tonight with me, I have John, Hollie and Simon. So, new manager, new formation, no new outcome, no win. Disappointingly against Huddersfield, but a bit of an improvement, I feel. So, guys, let's start then. Darren Moore came to town with his new team, Huddersfield. What do you make of it?
Before that, I'll just say, for the first time, I woke up excited to go to the game and hopeful. I came downstairs. It was like Christmas. I came downstairs and I said, we might actually get something today. I mean, Charlie and Adam looked at each other and went, okay. And just sort of like went along with it. But I felt hopeful. So that's always a start.
Of course, Hollie. And I'm sure people listening to this and watching probably felt the same waking up on a Saturday morning. A bit because of, obviously, what had happened a couple of days earlier of getting rid of, statistically, on record, the worst manager we've ever had. So, John, Sam, did you feel the same as Hollie? I'll start with you, John. Did you wake up with a bit of optimism and looking forward to the game?
I think there was a sense of relief for me that there were obviously Xisco gone, that Thompson, Neil Thompson, who's done a caretaker job before, would have some fresher ideas, would be a little bit more in line with what fans were thinking about players not playing in right positions, players frozen out and stuff like that. So that alone was a little bit of cautious optimism, because you're thinking, right, you've got to see what we're seeing, because Xisco definitely weren't having any of it. It was just being stubborn to the core. But surely Tomo is going to be at least on the similar wavelength to the rest of us. And so because of that, it gave me a little bit of optimism that he would employ a bit more common sense, which I think came to pass, looking at the lineup. So yeah, it definitely felt a lot better than going and watching Xisco ball all the time. It was just demoralising, to be honest. Yeah.
When Xisco got sacked, right, I felt like I were on a film. I felt like running out into the street and knocking on everybody's door on the street and going, he's gone. And I'd text every single person that I know, even people who don't like football. They're like, who's gone? Never mind, he's gone. Tell everyone. Tell them all.
So you're breaking into a musical song down.
I was just thinking, yeah. It's some sort of Shakespeare thing, isn't it?
Simon, don't take this the wrong way, mate. I'm assuming you didn't do that. Not that because you weren't happy that Xisco went. I've heard your singing, mate.
It almost sounded like something out of Christmas Carol. What day is it? What day is it, boy? It's Xisco's gone day. It's Xisco's gone. Good. Buy me a turkey.
But it's only October. No, don't worry, it'll freeze.
It'll freeze. Oh dear me. There was a feeling Saturday morning of I was actually like Hollie looking forward to it. I think the doom and gloom that had descended over Hillsborough, it was lifted slightly. It couldn't get any worse, could it? And at last, every time after every match, either you or Dan put on our tweeted Xisco, and eventually it came true.
I've had that saved for a while, that one. Just waiting for it. Yeah, well, I agree. I was the same. I woke up and it was a little bit. It's still obviously in trepidation, and obviously we need the points. But you did feel a bit more optimistic. You did feel that something would have changed, because what we've seen over the last few weeks, it's just been the same dross, hasn't it? But with a different 11. You know, it's not even the change of the 11 has changed the style of play or the way that games have gone. We've still had 20% possession, still had 1 or 2 shots, and that's about it. So, but obviously,
sorry, guys. What got me was that some people actually felt sorry for him, but he was the master of his own destiny, wasn't he? It wasn't as if he was being forced to play players out of position and players who really weren't good enough, and also ensuring certain players go to Dubai to kick a ball around. You know, he was master of his own destiny.
Density.
Yeah, Back to the Future there. He was dreadful. Just dreadful.
Well, did you see that kid? There's a Man City kid and he's like 10 and he's been to 263 games and he's seen 11 losses. Like, give us a couple of weeks and we'll match you this season. Like, who is this kid? I did not feel sorry for Xisco. I'll just say, I'll put it out there. I did not.
No,
I feel sorry for it.
I did in the sense that the guy's lost his job, and the way that he came across with that Rob Staten interview. You know, the one thing, he was very downbeat and very like proper. The answers he would give him were just the answers we give him were just, you just knew something was coming with that, because he just didn't give a hell, did he?
I just thought when he, a few weeks back, when he came out and said, well, Mikel Arteta had a slow start, if you remember, and look what he's doing now. And I thought, no, lad, that no Mikel Arteta, we're not going to get that kind of turnaround, you know, especially with the team selections and stuff. But I tell you what, he's damaged his CV his last 2 jobs, hasn't he? He's been to Cyprus, which is you know, pub league, and then he's ended up being the worst manager in our history statistically over a certain amount of games. So no, I'm sorry, there's no sympathy from me.
And that was hotly contested.
that was a long, proud standing record, wasn't it, between what were it, Pulis and Eustace, were it?
Yeah,
you know.
So obviously we came Saturday 3 o'clock. Well, sorry, no, I'll rephrase it. Saturday 2 o'clock came. So as usual, you get round your phones and your wirelesses and you look for the starting lineup. So just for people on YouTube, I've got a little thing going along. This is the starting lineup. So obviously there was a recall for Dawson. So did anyone think that was going to come? I don't think Vasquez has done anything majorly wrong to warrant losing his position. But hey, he came. Then we had Palmer, Volks, Iorfa, Gregory, Patterson, Bernard, Inekwe, Smith, and James. So what did you think to that 11 then? Simon, I'll go with you first.
It's what I expected. We had a very similar sort of thing after Gary Monk and Josh Lukai were dropping people like Hutch and so on and so forth, didn't we? We went back to the original order. I personally thought that Vasquez was starting to do some really bizarre stuff towards the last couple of matches. I think he felt under pressure. He had a great game against Ipswich, didn't he? But then, to be honest, I didn't see him being any better than Dawson. He's probably dropped him because he's reverted, other than Dijon, he's reverted to the original sort of back 3, back 4, of which Dawson knows, and they know Dawson. So I imagine that's probably why he's done that. And then, wow, we put a guy on the left who's got a left foot. Fantastic. Who'd have thought, you know?
Yeah,
Volks, who I think Volks has played bit part all season. You know, Volks came on with Byers. No, that's probably the team I would have played, mate. You know, other than Windass and Bannon in there, because obviously those guys are injured. That's probably the team I would have played. And Dijon, in all honesty, I thought had a fantastic game. I thought it was superb.
He was mustard. He was.
Hey, bumtis. He was superb. I thought they all were at the back. To be honest, I thought they all were.
I think it was. I don't know what you guys thought. Obviously, only one of which was Dijon was the starting lineup from the new signings. So, which you think Thompson's obviously come in. He's had a look. He knows most of these players probably inside out over the last couple of years. No surprise, really, was it, Hollie, that there was only one new signing started?
No, and I think before Xisco went, people sort of had a rumble and was saying that Bannon was refusing to play, but I think it proves that he wasn't. Otherwise, he would be straight in, wouldn't he? But yeah, I think everybody wanted him to play all the older guys and see how they fared, which they did all right. They did all right, didn't they? I mean, Fudge would love to be on this week after Dawson's performance. But other than that, I think everyone else was quite reasonable. That's not to say I don't think Vasquez would have been better, because I don't think he puts a glove on a corner or a cross either, to be fair. And that's the thing that Dawson struggled with in the game. It was the crosses and corners. The referee was very lenient and gave a couple of fouls that definitely weren't fouls, I wouldn't say, when Dawson was going over the top of them. There was one in front of us where he shouted for it and Ihekwe left it, and then he just flapped at it randomly.
And the shot came in and went just wide, didn't, to the left-hand post.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that was obviously a bit of a precursor for what happened in the second half, but obviously we'll get to that. I mean, I've been calling it, and I think you guys have, and everyone listening, for two up top. We've been saying one up top. Simon's been a big advocate of this. One up top just hasn't helped, has it? In any of the games, really, we've always thought two up top. So obviously Thompson's come in and he's gone two up top. And what I thought, and correct me, what it looked like was Patterson as a number 10. I thought Patterson was just behind him, and I thought that's quite a different position for Patterson to sit up. He's played nearly every position. But what was your thoughts, John, on the two up front, two up top, up front? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was needed. You can in a side that's struggling for goals. I think you've got to have a confident player just to play up front on their own. He's got to do all the kind of leg work, and he's got to hold the ball up. He's got to get this, got to score any chances that come his way. And we weren't creating a lot, so I think it'd be, a fool's goal to continue with one up front. Really, I think we had to put two up front just because we've got no goal threat at the moment in the side, and starving for chances and stuff like that. So a welcome return to see two back up front. Obviously, did it make a massive difference? As it turns out, no, because we're still struggling to score goals and fashion chances, aren't we? But equally, so were Huddersfield. It was a game which we could see why the two sides are where they are. You could see the two sides that are struggling for goals. But I do absolutely agree with going with two up front, because it has worked in the past before, and they, Smith and Gregory, and I prefer Patterson in that advanced role, in the number 10 role, as you call it. I know he started as a right back, but that was many years ago. I think he's become much more than that now. He offers some good. He's quite a physical kind of player, Patterson, so he will put himself about in the box, and he ought to have scored really on Saturday, if you remember the chance that he had. He kind of snatched at it a bit, didn't he, and put it wide. But I think he's more valuable to us in an attacking sense, in an attacking position than what he was under Xisco playing right back.
In the first half, we only had one real chance, and that was Byers. I think Smith, crossfield ball. Smith headed it down. Byers hit it, and I think it just bounced over the bar, and the keeper did like a comedy dive to his right to save it, or to attempt to save it, but he was nowhere near it. So it does look troubling. Even obviously we played two up front. The amount of chances that we're not creating, like I said, one in the first half at home, and it has been at home. It's been a lot more evident, isn't it, that we're just not getting the shot. Even I mean, I've got the even total shots. We've got 5 total shots at home, 1 on target all game. On the face of it, I think the 0-0 against Huddersfield and Thompson picked a different team, and there were, but it still wasn't good. It was better-ish, but still, it wasn't like we had over 50% possession, peppered the goal, and only had and still drew 0-0. We were still shotless. So
I think the worry is that the Huddersfield fans that I was talking to before and after the game were saying that they're really, really bad, but they all said that was their worst game. So if that's their worst game and we still can't score against them, how worrying is that? That by far their worst game is what they were saying. They did also sing and point at me and sing that they saw me crying on the telly, and it actually probably was me. But they were insistent that
horrible
was
buggers. Horrible buggers, Hollie.
Probably was me.
And they were still chanting the Forestieri song as well.
Oh.
Yeah. They did, yeah.
It's because they're still living in the 1930s over there. I think.
Oh, go on.
I think what Thompson tried to do was steady the ship. We didn't want to lose the game. There were 2 reasons, wasn't there? I mean, firstly, he's got to come in, he's got to try and steady the ship, stop that constant number of losses, because we did seem to be going into this quagmire of just losing every game. And what was the last game we drew? Was it Middlesbrough? So we've drawn against Leeds, Middlesbrough, now Huddersfield. So we were going through this, conceding early goals, conceding late goals, conceding penalties. So I think the first job was to shore up and not concede. So we've actually had a clean sheet, which when was the last time we had a clean sheet sort of thing? And then secondly was to not lose against Darren Moore. New manager bounce. I mean, at the end of the day, I would imagine if as a Huddersfield fan, I wouldn't be too happy because I don't think they've won a game under him yet, have they? So
no. It was only drawn 2, lost 1, drawn 1. 3 now. Sorry.
Yeah, lost 1.
So it's got the same amount of points as us. Some
amount of pride there. And then you also, as well, don't forget, we're also pulling a team together who haven't played together in that sort of majority of the team. That team haven't played together since the playoff final. So, they've and then also as well, on top of that, what it did show was, which we've said for a long time now, is love them to bits, Smith and Gregory. We needed a new striker over the summer. We needed somebody with pace. We needed somebody who could put the ball away. And in all intents and purposes, we haven't really bought anybody to replace those. In regards to Patterson, I thought he was awful. I really did. I thought he had a poor game. And I think the position didn't suit him. I know other people, you guys probably will disagree with me. It's not a position for him.
No, I agree, Simon. I agree.
I would have said, if anything, I would have tried Masaba in that role because of his pace. Every time they kept substitution, it's got to be Pato. I love him to bits, but it's got to be Pato. It's got to be
bleeding for the club, Simon, and that's not enough.
It was like things like what really peed me off as well was when he obviously got a head injury, didn't he? And he threw his when he did eventually get subbed, he threw his bandage off onto the floor, and he just like, what have you done that for, you pillock? Because they're not going to leave it on the pitch. Somebody's got to go and pick it up. It's got blood on it, so somebody's got to go on. And he's just thinking, really, why did you do that, bellend?
I feel like this is a personal.
No, it's not. It's not. Don't call me Blair. I know Blair doesn't like him. I love the bloke. I think he's brilliant. I'd love to go for a drink with him. It'd be a great night out. But it didn't suit him, that role. It really didn't. And I don't think he's at that age now where he's an impact sub for me. And I think Greg's is, and I think Smith is. Smith was like running through treacle through the entire match.
He's turned into Granny Smith now, hasn't he? That's crazy. He used to be Golden Delicious in League One, but now he's Granny Smith.
Granny Smith.
A bit old and a bit sour tasting.
Oh my God. We diverge onto some crap on this show, don't we? I mean, we're talking about Apple now. Comparing one of his first choice strikers to an Apple now. That's how low we've got, isn't it? But obviously we went in. Went into the half time 0-0. What do you think, Thompson? Just randomly, what do you think Thompson's like in the dressing room at half time? Obviously, Xisco must have said on some of his half time. Actually, must have just told him to throw the game or something. I ain't got a clue what it was like in the thing, but I don't know what Thompson would be like at half time. I'm sure he's quite measured and comes across quite a well mannered and like well spoken and softly spoken guy. But I wonder if he can kick some boots and things.
Well,
what do you reckon?
He worked for he was Warnock's assistant at Scarborough, weren't he? So he'll be no stranger to effing and jeffing, will he? So he'll have been in hostile dressing room environments, I suppose. But whether that's a style he adopts himself now, in the dressing room, or whether it's still that sort of calm, measured persona that you see on when he's being interviewed, I'm not too sure. But he's certainly been around the block a few times. So I've seen quite a few situations there. So I'd like to think that he's quite measured in his half-time team talks and knows what to. And he mentioned the trying to get the atmosphere back, didn't he? He referenced the Peterborough game and how influential the fans can be. And I think he's kind of just trying to say, if we can show that effort and endeavour, you're going to win the crowd back. That's going to help you out. That's going to inspire you to play better. And and I think that's kind of where he's trying to get back to the basics with.
Actually.
It weren't bad, was it? It weren't bad at all.
No, I thought it was all right.
6,000, which is a good gate considering where we are. And fair play, Huddersfield brought quite a few as well, didn't they? So
yeah, they did.
Can't fault the crowd and the atmosphere.
No, that's
Chansiri was in the crowd as well.
It was indeed, yeah. So
everybody just cheered him on.
Yeah, he was there with his face mask on, his family and everything. So yeah, he was in attendance. So
do you think we all knew that it was in the crowd, and all of a sudden the anti-stuff changed? It turned into a bit like North Korea, where we're all like applauding and looking up at the director's box.
Well, from where I was sat, there was a couple of times somebody tried chanting Chansiri out, and then over at the in the T1 block, they tried a couple of times, but I don't think it took on. So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if why people didn't or do, or I don't know. Just didn't seem to take off. So we'll see on the next game.
I think the chairman's pulled the trigger on the manager, and that in a way sort of quelled it, didn't it? And I think also people wanted to see some sort of reaction on Saturday, especially to an ex-manager. I mean, again, love the bloke Darren Moore, and God, I wish he'd stayed. But you can imagine if we had lost to him, and if it had been a resounding loss as well. I mean, it would have gone toxic really, really quickly. But he's done the first thing, hasn't he, Chansiri? He's made the decision. He's waited the proverbial 10 matches and then got rid of him. We're all willing to give him 10 matches. Christ, he should have only had 5. But anyway, that's that. And he's got rid of him. So he's in a way, he's appeased a lot of us, hasn't he, by pulling the trigger and doing that.
I think, I totally agree, Simon. But sorry, to cut you off. Sorry, but I'm just thinking. I put a tweet out, and it was like, he's pulled the trigger, but do you trust him to make the right decision regarding the next manager?
No, but how can it be worse?
Oh yeah, of course.
Statistically, it can't, can it?
Well, exactly. I don't know.
And that's the thing. I think if we'd seen that performance, say last season, that sort of performance we put in, or we'd had that sort of performance from the start of the season, we probably would have moaned about it. But because of what we've actually seen since August and how bad it's been and how inept and the lack of identity and the glaringly obvious things of people playing out of position, playing one up front, all this, I was walking away and I was saying to Ethan, that actually feels like a result, because we actually looked like we had some sort of identity. We actually looked like we had some sort of plan. Players actually looked like they knew what they were doing. Reece James brought some positivity back on the left-hand side. I thought Volks had a very good game, it's Ihekwe. I thought Ihekwe was superb. I mean, how anybody can say that Diaby is an upgrade to him is just blows my mind, because Ihekwe is a far better player.
Yeah, we are judging this on just one game, though. I know Inekwe's not played that good, has it? Not many games, not that good. He played brilliant. I thought the back three, Iorfa, Bernard and Inekwe, I thought they were really good, really solid. Reece James on the left. Sorry, Stevie, but I've got to say Palmer did not have
What's he gone and
game.
got dreads for? That's what's done, isn't it? He's got that dreads and he's
I really do think he's struggling with fitness. He was injured. He had an operation, did he, in the summer? So I don't think he's 100%. Yeah. I don't think, and it showed. He could not control the ball.
No. No. The ball was going out. Times. The ball was going out at one point. All he had to do is put his foot on it, stop it from going out, and he just missed the ball completely. The lad looks unfit. You're absolutely right. I think he had a groin injury, didn't he, which he carried into the playoff final. And he just looks really unfit, which then affects you mentally as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I think what we saw really was like those players that came back in and what we thought should have been playing in the first instance had lost some match sharpness and sort of, chemistry with each other because they weren't on the pitch. And so when they did get a chance to play on Saturday, we did see I personally thought so, runs that players were making that weren't spotted, balls that were played, and when the player was supposed to be making a run, it didn't happen there. And then obviously some overhit crosses and stuff like that as well. So I think you could just see that they'd not benefited from that time together in match situations, and they'd lost a bit of chemistry and understanding with each other.
I think, I totally agree, John. I think you're right. It does help, doesn't it, when you're working and playing with your counterpart in the midfield or your centre half partnership. It does help, doesn't it? That you get comfortable with people. And I don't think Xisco's chopping and changing of the 11 really helped any player, even new or old, to settle in that starting 11. I mean, I'm going to get onto it. Dawson's. I think, what do you think? Dawson, he got elbowed, I think, for that disallowed goal. Did anyone see that? I thought he made a right hash of it. But he should have punched it better anyway. But obviously, if you're getting an elbow in the face and it got blew up for a foul anyway. But I thought...
Why does he ever come to punch a ball? I've never seen him make contact with the ball when he tries to punch it. So just let the defenders do it and take a step back and try and save it if they get it. I've never seen him put a glove on it.
They had a free kick over on our left, and it came in. It hit the wall. I don't think it was Byers in the wall. It shot up, and it was like a split second. He's got to make the decision. Does he come for it? So if you're going to come for me, I've never played football in my life, but I imagine if you're goalkeeper and you're taking everything. You're going for that ball. You're going to catch it, or you're going to two-fist punch it away. And it doesn't matter who's in front of you, your player, their player, you just go through them. But it just seemed that he went for it like with one hand to punch it, and then he got caught by their attacker. And I think that's what they blew up. But you've got to just make the clearance. And then, obviously, if you get fouled or an offside, then you play to the whistle, don't you? So I just thought he looked a bit shaky. I've got to say, I know it's his first game back, and I'm not Dan Fudge bashing him here. It was just.
Have you made a video montage?
No, I'm a grown ass man. I don't do shit like that. Oh,
are you saying that Dan isn't a grown ass man?
Yes.
I cannot say.
I just think play to your strengths. We all know Dawson's strength is not punching it, so why is he even trying? Because the referee was quite lenient on them. There was a few where the ref gave it in Dawson's favour and it wasn't a foul. He just flapped at it. If the ref obviously thought, well, he wouldn't flap at it, would he? But yeah, he would. He does it all the time. Just try and take the shot. Let them head it if you want. But
I think the referee was poor overall anyway for both sides, to be honest.
Yeah. There was a tweet that went out before the game. A fellow Owls fan said that, oh, no, not this guy that's reffing. He doesn't allow any contact at all. He's very whistle happy. And you were on the money with that tweet because I thought the ref just wouldn't let the game go at all. It was almost like basketball. He couldn't touch anybody.
It gave loads of fouls in the first 20 minutes, didn't it? Absolutely. Loads every single time anyone went near ball.
I mean, stuff like that with two struggling teams trying to get into a rhythm, it just kills it, doesn't it? Because neither side can get into the flow of things because it's stop-start all the time. And I thought it was poor.
Who was it who got obstructed in the second half and he gave it to them? I can't remember who it was now. Was it Dijon and Dijon got the ball and got away, and the player just basically stepped in front of him and he ran into him. And I went, free kick. And he was facing our goal.
Yeah.
Pointing to the cup. It's just, what?
He only gave 2 yellow cards all game. One for us and one for them. And theirs was in the 95th minute. So he was a bit whistle happy, but not trigger happy.
Not card happy.
Card happy, yeah. So it was, I mean, like I said, disappointing to only see one shot on target. Patterson really should have scored, shouldn't he? From 5 yards out, swivel from a corner that dropped down. He should have scored right in front of you, Holly. I believe that was it. Yeah. But it was a draw. We didn't lose, and for me, yes, obviously, I think we're all in agreement that Thompson's first and I won't say last game because he may still be there for another caretaker role in the future. But in this stint, I would imagine it's his first and last game. And like pointed out earlier, he set up not to lose. Fair play to the defence, did the job, stuck to it. Just offered a bit of pace, no pace up front, did we? And there was he'd put on the bench. Sorry, Kadamatri was on the bench, and I can't pronounce it. It's Putte. Is that his name?
Joe Putte.
Joe Putte.
Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. And that was everyone saw that and thought, that's good. I know he didn't want to lose the game, but you could see there was no pace up there. So I would have given Kadamatri 8-10 minutes at the end just to have a run. He's got nothing to lose, has he?
There's a bit of pressure on him, though, isn't there? Because everyone's been saying get Kadamatri on for the whole season. That it's a bit like with Marvin Johnson. If they come on after all this build up and the rubbish for a young kid, it might take him 10 steps back.
The atmosphere. I'm not going to go on a rant, but we'll pull at the old young players thing. They can't be under pressure. They can't be. They've. I would imagine 18-year-old professional footballer playing for his. I don't think it's his boyhood club, is he? I think he's been there a while, though, hasn't he? And 10 minutes in a 0-0, if he goes on and he runs around and he doesn't get a touch of the ball, fair enough. We know no one's getting any service up front, so they're not going to blame him for that. If he gets on and scores a goal, he's a hero. And obviously, Neil Thompson must know that he's only there. Back of his mind, he's only there for one game. So he puts Kadamatri on, or he puts Putti on in the wide position, and he comes on and nothing happens, and he's drawn on 0-0. Then everyone will say, he's got minutes in the bank. It's good. We trust in the youngsters. You've got Leeds United play a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old in their first 11. All right. I know that they're a lot more advanced than us, their academies. But there's plenty of other teams that start 17, 18 and 19-year-olds, and we just seem not. Yeah, of course. So the pressure, I think, like you say, Holly, I think the pressure is from the fans because we've never really done this. If every season we had, like Rio Shipston, he came last season, came on, played a couple of games, did all right for what I saw, to be honest, I've got to say. But then there isn't anyone else this season that we're not giving anyone a chance. So I think they should give the youth a chance. But I understand in the position we're in, though, aren't we? We're bottom of the league.
These are his boys, so he's going to want to protect them. He's obviously sees them more than we do.
Yeah.
Maybe he knows that they're maybe not quite up to it or whatever, but he's going to want to protect them for long term rather than just throwing them in. And the atmosphere until this game has been bad. So, if they come on and they weren't so good, I don't think our fans would, but it's not unthinkable that they might then just think that they're crap and never want to see them again and go over top. Not like us to be dramatic, but you never know, do you? So he ain't going to want to throw him to Lions, is he? But
maybe.
How are we going to know if he's any good?
He knows if they're any good, though, doesn't he? Because he sees them.
Put him on bench, didn't it? So must have thought two were good enough.
I think if I can throw any defence into Thompson was the fact that his sort of hand was called when Reece James had to come off. So where Reece James had to come off, he's obviously had to swap Palmer over onto the left, and he brought Valentin on, and that may be sort of had to reshuffle his deck then to of maybe what he originally planned to do, because I'd have liked to certainly seen Joey Pooty come on, because from what I saw him in the preseason, he was very, very good in regards to sort of attacking down the wing, and I think he would have shut them up. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, and I thought to myself, why didn't we push it more in the second half? Their keeper looked really shaky. I mean, you've all talked about Dawson, but you know what? I think that Huddersfield's keeper was very poor, and I'd like to have seen a few more balls into the box, and the big lads of Smith and Gregory sort of getting into him a bit, because it didn't seem to be a great deal of confidence in the back four of Huddersfield playing in front of him. They didn't like to pass back to him. And there was a couple of times where he made a few mistakes. Obviously, our keeper did as well. I'd like to have seen us press that more. And that's probably, again, back to the fact that Thompson was trying to stop the rot of us losing games and going for a draw. Yeah.
The problem for both teams was it wasn't really end to end. It was just middle to middle. And nobody had anything up front, did they? Nobody did anything. So the keepers were like, well, okay, I'm not having a good game, but so doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Very true. But very true, Holly. So that was Huddersfield 0-0. We've got massive 3 points. So unfortunately, I think Rotherham scraped a draw as well. So we're in the same position. Who knows? Watford next. We could increase our points to 6. Could 100% improve them, couldn't we? From 3 to 6. So that's our next game up. Obviously, we've got an international break coming up, so that's Huddersfield. Just a quick one on Huddersfield, and I should have said this before. Darren Moore, did he get a good reception? What do you think? I just thought he got a clap, a round of applause when he came out, but nothing major, was it?
And he didn't. I thought that he might have clapped our fans at the end, but he didn't. Although Tom Lees did do a lap at the end, but I didn't see Darren Moore do anything.
He did get booed from the Huddersfield fans, though.
Who did? Tom Lees.
No, Darren Moore. He went over with some of the players. All right, then he was with the players as well, so it could have been obviously. But they did boo when he went over, so I did notice that.
He came out.
But it's a bit harsh that he's only had 4 games.
Yeah,
drew 3 and lost 1.
I did hear the boos, actually, and I wonder what that was for, to be honest, but I got that used to them recently.
Yeah.
They could be coming from anywhere. Or maybe I was just hearing them and it didn't actually happen.
Down to our level. Well, all the Huddersfield fans that I know, none of them wanted him, so they're unimpressed already, and they're still unimpressed.
Right.
But if this is the last bit that we talk about Huddersfield, can we draw a line under Darren Moore and never mention him ever again?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Just
100%.
Don't mention it to Steve. Because I was please don't mention it to Stevie.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Holly, because that does a little segue into our next little discussion. Managers of Sheffield Wednesday, or the next manager of Sheffield Wednesday. So, over the last God knows how many days, we've all seen Sky Bet pictures that everyone's putting up of all the betting odds and everything like that. Dan did a massive thing about it on the last pod about how betting odds work. So over the last couple of days, we've had a few other names mentioned on Twitter and socials and everything. So we've got Warnock still, who's still hanging around there. We've got Michael Beale, who's just been released from his position at Rangers. And then for me, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it's a proper heads gone, is that Birmingham have got rid of Eustace. 6th in the league. So he's looking for a job and wants to get straight back into management. And then we've also got, I think the bookie's favourite, and it looks nailed on, is Danny. Anyone want to have a go at pronouncing his name?
Go on then, Ash, tell us.
No. I'll go on. Go on, Holly. Have a go at pronouncing Danny.
Well, I don't know, but it did make me laugh when somebody said online, if he's called Roll, can we call him Bread Cake?
Not tea cake from Barnsley, innit? Anyone want to have a go? Go on, Si. I can see you.
Probably roll, not roll. Somebody said it's like people from Hull call rolls. But I can't. I worked in Hull for a year, and I can't. I remember him having a weird accent. But
so by the magic of computers and stuff and things, if you can hear this, this is how you pronounce Danny Roll's surname.
Oil.
Did you get that? Oh, it's like one of them competitions where you're like, oh,
Oil.
What's that sound?
Oil.
You have to roll your tongue, quite literally.
Yeah.
Roll.
Yeah. So he's best become manager now because this section's going to look crap, innit?
So we're going to call him Big. You're going to call him Big Dave from now on, then.
That's it, yeah. Danny Dog, something like that.
Sounds like when Haaland did that impression of John Stones. That.
It does. Yeah. So Danny Rule is the favourite. Forgive me. I mean, I've read so much stuff in the last few days over him. I do not profess to know anything about German football. What you've read, what you've seen on Twitter and socials and everything. Hollie, what's your initial? If obviously this is all done, we're recording this on Monday night, so it may all change even now, or it might change in the next 24 hours, whatever. But if out of that list, Danny Rule, Warnock, Michael Beale, and Eustace from Birmingham, or somebody else.
So I never claim to know about anyone else's managers. I don't care. I don't care what anyone else is doing. Obviously, we all know about Colin, but no one. I genuinely do not know anything about anyone else's managers. So the only things that I've heard about Rule is I think Peter Lohman put on on about some stats and stuff, and it all looked great. But then that makes me suspicious anyway, because the fact that it sounds good doesn't sound like Sheffield Wednesday, does it?
Come on, Hollie.
Where's the catch?
And he might, exactly. Where's the catch? And he might be the kind of guy who needs time, which he's not going to get from either the chairman or the fans or the players. And then, but has he managed before? Or has he only been an assistant? I don't know.
No.
I don't know about him.
He has. He's only been assistant, but he was assistant at Southampton, Bayern Munich, and also the German national squad. So he's got a decent CV.
That guy that was at Barnsley was the assistant for like Mourinho or somebody, wasn't it? And he was their worst manager that they've had in ages. So
the thing against him is he hasn't managed in the Cypriot League. So
has he been at Watford?
You're not worth your soul, are you?
And he has been at Watford. So
that does say something because we've all been at Watford.
I've never been to Watford actually. I've worked there, but never been to football. But I'm going to rectify that in a couple of weeks. So I don't know what I was going to say now. I've just gone. Well, he's got to start somewhere, right? So let me put it to you. We're 11 games in. We're not 11 games from the end of the season. We've still 35 games, which is my rubbish maths, is 105 points. Is that right? Yes, 105 points. So he's got time at the minute to come in. If he comes in the next 24, 48 hours, he's got 10 days with the team to the next match. He's got all the on-paper attributes. He's done his German pro license, A license. He's worked under and with some managers and players. What I can get from it, the only thing that he hasn't done is had a batshit crazy boss. And that we all know. We've all worked in jobs where we've had batshit crazy bosses. And it's how you deal with them.
Look, after Cisco, I would literally give it to a piece of roadkill because it cannot be any worse. Usually, you look down the list of managers and you think, "Oh God, I don't want them, and them." But anybody, get anybody.
Usual merry-go-round.
That segment now, and Ash just said that, and it just said, "Oh, whichever one he said it." He hasn't had a batshit crazy manager. took me back to like you can imagine Danny Rule on a set of surprise, and Scylla was still alive, and she's like, "You haven't had a batshit crazy manager? Well, he's here tonight." And the thing goes back, and Dave Chansiri comes walking in.
Right, I know what I'm going to be working on for the next GIF. Okay, yeah,
but yeah, I think the weird thing is with Danny Rule is it feels like a project. Going with somebody like him, and when has DC ever done a project? I bet he never finished a jigsaw as a kid because he couldn't be arsed. He just threw it away and bought one already made or something. It's like Danny Rule. It's like he's a 34-year-old manager with all that experience working at the top level of football, both in Germany and with the national side. And you're thinking, if you're going to go with somebody like him, surely that's like a long-term project. Even if we went down, you'd be thinking you stick with that because he's going to have some contacts in the game, he's going to have a philosophy, have a style, and you're going to stick with that and see if it's an untapped route that you've not been down before, see if it can prove successful. But then I always take the other thing takes me back to like what Blair was saying as well, that for all these assistants that have worked with all these top coaches, like Paul Clement, who worked with like Mourinho and followed him kind of from Chelsea to Real Madrid, and he finally got his chance as a manager. And didn't really do very well, did he? I don't think he lasted too long. Was it Derby County, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's a little bit Forrest Gump box of chocolates, You're not quite sure what you're going to get. Is it going to be taking to it like a duck to water, or is he going to struggle being the main man? And more importantly, what sort of assurances and what sort of vision and plan, if we have one, are we going to have if we take somebody like that on from DC? Is he going to get time to try and work, be a project, or is it simply just here you go, 30 odd games, see what you can do?
The counter to that is that obviously they got the guy at Leicester, Maresca, who I know Pep's second, he's never managed. He's going Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, he'd never managed. Schumacher at Plymouth, I know they're not having the best run at the minute, but they played some great stuff in League One last season.
John Eustace, I'm just looking at a tweet here, actually, so keep an eye. I'm just praying he appoints somebody while we're on podcasting. It'd be brilliant. But apparently, John Eustace, who's now become one of the other choices, he had only been assistant prior to being Birmingham's manager. So he's only been assistant prior as well. I'm just waiting for Chansiri to turn up tomorrow and going, can't do a Dan Fudge impersonation, but going,
no,
I'm just here's our new manager, and there's this really flat hedgehog just sat there, and he's listening to the podcast tonight, gone out in his car.
He's going to play a flat back for
I may say something now that probably 99.9% of fans will agree with me.
Oh,
and just when Chansiri appoints someone and they do a press conference, I hope he's locked in a broom cupboard, Chansiri. I think he's somewhere in another office or somewhere else, just nowhere near it. Just let the man, whoever it is, sit there in front of the cameras and just take the questions of X, Y, Z, whatever. And, or even have like the communications guy, Trevor, at the side of him. And if any questions coming about Cisco, just go, whoa, hold your horses. None of that shit. New manager, just crack on. And then just leave it. And I think that will just set the guy off, whoever it is, on a bit of an even keel, not looking at his watch going, Jesus Christ, what have I done it in Spanish, obviously. So it's are you either or? Are you bothered, John? Are you a Danny Rule, or are you like, I don't just say a Warnock who would only be here for the season though, because you'd get the same next season, he'd leave, and you'd back to square one, be it in the Championship or God forbid in League One. Are you one for the project, that giving the guy the chance?
I would support a project, but the problem with the project is you need to have that in your mind in like between seasons, in the off season. You need to make that sort of decision before an upcoming season, not just shy a quarter of a way through a season or whatever it may be. So I think the position that we're in, I could support a project but I just don't think we can afford to go back to League One again. I don't think Chansiri can afford that. He's got to avoid it at all costs, because as much as he wants to stop funding the club and have a go at the fans, the realization for him is TV revenue alone will drop by 7 million just from being in League One, and for a club that's not notoriously good at making its own money revenue wise, that is an absolute bombshell. You can't afford that. We can't do that. So it's strange, because it, like I say, to me, it does look like it does, seem like a project manager, but we're not in a project window, I don't think. So maybe they're just going to use him for this experience of being around these top players and top coaches, and hope that his methods and can rub off on the players, and that we can do that. And the Warnock thing, yes, I undoubtedly think he's got the capability of getting Wednesday out of it, but I just don't think we can afford to appoint somebody like him, given the fractured nature between fans and chairman as it is. Yeah. Another manager can probably get 3 defeats on the bounce and we grumble, but if Warnock gets 3 on the spin, it's all of a sudden Agent Warnock, and the fans are up in arms again, aren't they? So yeah, it's going to be a real decision to make, and it still seems, from what we're seeing on news outlets, Twitter, social media, etc., that right now, barring anything different, he's still the favourite, isn't he, Danny Roll? So he's got to get this one right, but we keep saying that, don't we? So
yeah.
Whoever it is, Wednesday fans have got to realise we're going to lose a lot of games this season. We're going to lose more games than we win, whoever it is. Mm-hmm. We still don't know if last season's players are good enough. We sort of know that the new players aren't really good enough, and a combination of them all might still be pretty poor. So whoever you get in, they're your players. Unless Marvin Johnson is going to be Pele, they're your players. So we're going to end up losing a lot of games. So whoever it is, and I know I did say this a few games ago about Xisco, but we are just going to have to get behind him, whoever it is, because we're going to be rubbish.
So your getting behind Xisco was going out your front door when he got sacked and being full on musical down the street. Yeah, that was you getting behind
right.
him. Yeah. Simon, what's your thoughts on this? Is this obviously it's an appointment Mr. Chansiri has to get right, because it's looking not so much bleak at the minute, but it could be after a few more games.
It's looking very bleak at the moment, to be honest, Ash. It's 3 points out of 10, 11.
Still, like I said, still 105 points left, though.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I'm a fan of Rull or Eustace as well now, and now he's being relieved of his duties. The question mark I've got over Danny is his experience of, he's been fortunate to have been assistant manager at football clubs that are full of money and have been, German national team, Bayern Munich. They have class in depth through academies and through their first teams. He's actually got to do a job here with what we've got, because bear in mind, he can't sign anybody until January. We've got a batshit crazy chairman who, unless he's been visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future, he's going to carry on as he is. I would hope that he has had an epiphany and decided to no longer go down the route, but he's been, in charge of it 8 years now, and he hasn't changed. Leopard doesn't change his spots. I'm not for Warnock. Entirely, as John says, it's not he was a Sheffield United, this, that, and the other, but he's said stuff in the past, I know jokingly, and he's that pantomime villain, etc., etc. But 2 or 3 losses, and the crowd will turn. And look, we've taken the piss for many years over Heckingbottom and Danny Wilson, Agent Heckingbottom. It'd only come back and bite us on the arse, wouldn't it, if Warnock came and we ended up going down? So, look, like we say, you could appoint roadkill. It's got to be better than what we've just had over the last 10 games. But, that you've got, I'm not a coach. The only team I really watch is Wednesday. I don't really watch Premiership football. I don't really watch any other team. A bit like Hollie, I haven't got any interest in other managers. I just enjoy football, and it's been horrid since that day in May. let's just get somebody in, get some stability, somebody who can actually look at the team and try and get them, make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, let's say, and get us to safety. Because, as John said, if we go down, I don't know. The club will always exist, and the club will exist way beyond my years and everybody else's years here because of the
fingers crossed.
Wednesday is.
Yeah.
But also as well, there's people out there. I haven't got the memories, but the people out there where we were on the verge of going into the old 4th division. Wednesday had been in far, far worse states. Home games of 10,000, and these sort of things that we have been in worse positions, but there wasn't the money swirling around that there is now, and the losses that clubs can incur and the penalties for clubs when they concur these losses in a league that's broken. Yeah. So we need to shore the ship up. And he needs to make an appointment this week, whoever it is.
Oh no! Well,
manager needs to be in place this week.
What if he does it on Friday the 13th?
Oh, again, that'd be the ghost of Christmas. Future, wouldn't it? This is the Christmas Carol.
like I said previously, we're recording this on Monday night. I would hope in the next 48 hours, just to maximise the amount of time that the new manager will have without a game to get in, obviously, and just work with the players, get introduced to the surroundings. If it's a totally different manager to the league or anything, then it's got to do it as soon as.
Why break the habit of the match day statement? We love that. Well, a few hours before the game, stick a statement out. Why not?
Well, I was half expecting at the end of the Huddersfield game, we've got an announcement and then parade him round, or whoever it is, parade it round at the end of the game. But something different or something would happen like that, but wasn't to be. So just a quick one on the. Obviously, we've talked about Hollie's. I totally agree with Hollie. We are going to lose a lot of games. And at the start of the season, even if it was Darren Moore or whoever it was, I always felt it was going to be a hard season. And I would have took 19th, 20th, 21st, and that does mean that we are going to lose a lot of games. So just hope we've lost the majority of them in the first 11. Get them out of the way. And then whoever comes in has got a free run to get 90 points and push for promotion.
You just need to get a win, don't we?
That's it.
The longer it goes on, the heads just keep dropping, and the belief's not there, isn't it? And you can bring anyone you like, and you can bring Ferguson out of retirement. But if you 12, 13, 14, 15 games and you still haven't won, it's just going to be such a demoralising picture for the players, isn't it? So, like you said, get somebody in quick, get them working with the players on the training pitch, get their ideologies across, the methods and everything. Some coaches are all, bigging up players and confident. Arsene Wenger was always a brilliant man motivator, wasn't it? Other guys are kind of just strict and straight down the line. That person in quick so that they can get stuck into the players, but at least at this kind of training ground, and get them as best prepared as they can for what's going to be an absolute dogfight for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've just looked at. We've got Watford, Plymouth, and Rotherham, and all three are in the bottom 7 from tonight. So you're looking at them. None of them are in pretty sparkling form. So you would hope that
charitable.
Yeah, of course. But you're looking at those 9 points to go for there. I don't know, 6 at a minimum.
You've got to be beating Rotherham. You've got to be beating Rotherham, haven't you? You've got to beat Rotherham. You've got to beat those teams.
Is that at Hillsborough, that one?
Yes.
Sunday.
They always do well at Hillsborough, don't they? Sorry, Town. They always tend to do well at Hillsborough.
But it is. Yeah, it is getting.
You're right. We need to win.
Bottom 7. So for me, we have to. Right. I'm all done there. I'm knackered. So any other business? Anyone would like to point anything out? Holly's going to say something.
I've got some more business. If you are you might be able to tell us more about this, Ash, but if you are part of the Women's Supporters Group, you've just got a newsletter that mentions that we have partnered with them for some free tickets for the Rotherham match, when the deadline to apply for that is on Friday.
Oh, look at us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So yes, you have to obviously, the women's supporters group, if you don't know about it, is absolutely brilliant. There's a WhatsApp group that's fantastic. Leanne from the women's supporters group was behind the Bradley Lowery fundraiser, which is brilliant. They were going to spend that on a caravan for like respite holidays, and I'm assuming they've got the caravan out of that. It's got to 27 grand last time I saw it, so that's good stuff. But yes, if you are signed up to their emails, you will have had an email that we've partnered with them, and yes, you can apply for some of the tickets for the home game, which is on the 29th.
Very good. Wow.
Check your inbox.
There you go, listeners and watchers. There you go. If you're a member, get signed up and you could get some tickets to the Rotherham game and watch Rotherham in the third game. Watchers get 9th points of that 3-game run. Anybody else for anything else? No.
I just want to put out a best wishes from all of us at the Wednesday week for Chris Basham, who had a really, really nasty injury. I know he plays for the other side of the city, but if anybody saw that injury on Saturday, it was awful, and I just hope he makes a full recovery from that. I think all of us from the blue and white side of the city wish him our best. It was a horrific injury, and all the best from us all here at the Wednesday week. Rivalries aside, you won't want to see any football player of any age, of any Premier League, First Division, grassroots, get an injury like that. It was horrendous. And all the best, and I hope we get well. Get well soon, mate.
Yep. Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah, totally agree with that. Thank you very much. So that's episode 381 done. I say it all the time when I'm hosting, but if you subscribe on all the YouTubes and all the social things, and thank you very much for listening. And we'll be back. Maybe, you never know. You may be lucky, and we might do a manager special if we get one announced. What do you think? Yeah, this week definitely got to be. So clear your diaries, guys. We may be a special. But thank you very much for listening. And this has been the Wednesday week for all your Sheffield Wednesday nonsense. Bye.